All right, let's get over to our running back props for this week here. Sleepy, where are you taking us?
Baltimore, Justice Hill over 12 and a half rushing yards. Ravens, they're a 2.5 touchdown favorite in this game over the Giants. I don't know how much Derrick Henry's going to need to run in this game, but his over and under for rushing yards, Munaf, was 100 yards and a half. How much passing will the Ravens need to do towards the end of this game? You figure, well, if you're a 2.5 touchdown favorite, your lead running back's supposed to run for 100 yards. You're probably not going to need to throw the football much. Where does that put you? Well, you got to start looking at the backup guys, I think. And the first one that comes to mind is going to be Justice Hill. And it's not like this guy gets a lot of touches out of the backfield, but if you go through the game by game, the most touches he's had all year long, at least in attempts, rushing attempts, was five. This has to set up for the game for him to have the absolute most attempts probably on the entire year. The Giants are going to end up going with probably Danny DeVito again there this week. So you got to wonder, as he turned the ball over, how far behind do the Giants get in this game? I can only see Justice Hill getting five, six, seven, maybe eight carries in this game, and that's perfectly fine to go ahead and get me over the 12 and a half rushing yards. Now, a lot of that's just based on how bad the Giants are stopping the run. So you're not going to leave Lamar out there to go ahead and get hit or to have him scramble or do any of that. It's not going to happen. Justice Hill over 12 and a half rushing yards. I love that one. I think that, maybe playing an alternate on that too there, Manoff, maybe like 25 yards, probably like a plus 230, plus 240, perfectly fine. Don't be shocked if he has a pretty big game here running the football, especially if the Ravens get up, going in the middle of the third quarter and they're up by 35 or something like
Yeah.
that. It's going to be the Justice Hill show. So I absolutely love that. Justice Hill over 12 and a half rush yards.
Yeah, I think it's a good pivot off of what you mentioned about Derrick Henry. Should have a monster game here, but if this team is up by, let's just say, four touchdowns at the end of the third quarter, how much do you really see Derrick Henry out there in that fourth quarter and Lamar Jackson honestly out there? Because I believe they play the Steelers next week, if I'm not mistaken, do the Baltimore Ravens. So you want to have your guys healthy. And look, I still think there's an outside shot for this Ravens team to go out and win the AFC North Division. So if you're coming off of the bye week, you want to take care of business. Don't want to have this to be a close game. I think that the Ravens are going to be very focused on running the football here, whether it is with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, more importantly, Justice Hill. And I mean, you take a look at his game log this season. I mean, there was four separate occasions this season, Sleepy, that he got up and over this number of 12 and a half on one carry. So I think
Hmm.
that he has that type of ability, especially in this matchup against the New York Giants this week. I know I gave out Kamara last week on his over on his rushing yards, and he just didn't pan out. But I think this is a different animal that they're going up against in this Baltimore Ravens rushing attack here. So I'd be with you 100% before I would be against you on this player prop. All right. For my running back prop here, Sleepy, I'm going back to the well here, and it's something that I gave out, I believe it was on last week or the week prior. I think we talked about Thanksgiving Day games. David Montgomery over on his receiving yards. And this number is still at 15 and a half for David Montgomery in this matchup. So obviously they are going up against the Bills this week in the game of the week here. But I've talked a lot about this season about how bad the Bills have been against the running back position, specifically through the passing game. And thus far this season, they're allowing 44 and a half receiving yards per game to that running back position. But you also take a look what David Montgomery has been able to do for this passing attack of the Detroit Lions in 5 straight weeks. 6 straight weeks. He's had 20 or more receiving yards for the Detroit Lions. He also has had 5 games of 24 or more receiving yards, and 3 straight weeks, Sleepy, against the Colts, the Bears, and the Packers, 33 or more receiving yards. So when this guy is getting the football in the passing game, he's doing the most with it. He's averaging about 3.5 to 4 targets per game. He's also making the most of it. Over the last 4 weeks for David Montgomery, he has 11 targets. On those 11 targets, all of the 11 have been catches. So not a guy that's dropping the football. And I think Jared Goff has done a really good job in that passing game with Ben Johnson of setting both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery up in the passing game here. So this number hasn't been adjusted by the market. I'll gladly take the over 15 and a half again here with David Montgomery on his receiving yards here, Sleepy.
Yeah, this one I like. And I think that there's probably a couple of things that we could probably think about with this one. Number one, Detroit's a team that they're so hard to defend because they have so many players that can make plays. And a lot of times that will leave a running back wide open or a running back to go ahead and catch a screen or whatever the case might be. But Montgomery's been playing well and he deserves the extra playing time. Not just that. Detroit's a team that runs a lot of plays, Munaf. So as you get later on in the year, you start searching for what other plays can we add into the playbook. Well, if you're running, 80 plays a game, just off the top of my head, you got to start adding in guys that are helping you produce, guys that are producing out there on the football field for you, and certain plays that just aren't in the playbook. Because like, how many times can you throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown? You know what I mean? So you got to start adding in other players. I think that that's one of the reasons why that he's gone up and over. But again, I think a lot of it has to do with the lines are just so hard to defend that if you can just check down something that's easy and it's going to be there and there's going to be open spaces, why not go ahead and get it to Gibbs, get it to Montgomery? So they're not going to go ahead and stop what's working. I think this is going to help them in the long run, going ahead and getting another player, in the offense. So yeah, I like this one quite a bit. I think this is just too low. It should probably be closer to 20.
Yeah, I thought that the market again. I went back and looked at it because I wanted to go back to it. And I see the market hadn't adjusted on this number, so I'll gladly take it again here with David Montgomery to get up and over 15 and a half receiving yards against the Buffalo Bills.